I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janine, roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Tinkin?
Here.
Mr. Borlaug absent.
I'd like to read the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Coast Star newspaper, and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with borough policy. Okay, I'd like to have a motion and a second on the approval of the agenda for tonight, unless anybody has any questions. Any questions?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we have minutes here in our packet from May the 11th, 2015. Did everybody have a chance to read them?
I have a correction to let everyone know about on page 6.
Okay.
The motion by Mr. O'Brien for Budget Plan C. I have that Mayor Mechanical voted as a yes. That needs to be corrected to a no.
I'll motion to accept the correction.
I'll second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Presentation tonight, we have the emergency management presentation by Rita Murphy. Rita, would you like to step forward?
Good evening. Hurricane season this year begins on June 1st, and Hurricane Preparedness Week is May 24th through the 30th. And I'd just like to re-emphasize the importance of being prepared. We didn't really have any storms last season, but you should have, now would be a good time this particular week to go home and get some food supplies together that are non-perishable, ample water for everyone in your family, a handheld crank radio, and photocopies of your most important documents. I'm going to deviate for a second. I have a friend who's home, and she considers herself one of the lucky ones, that her home was actually still standing. However, she was out of her home for almost 19 months. And she explains to me that over the course of the year, she had saved every receipt or scanned it, and how much in filling out the estimated 12,980 pieces of paperwork since, and counting, that having that information,
Sorry.
and
Did you say
counting,
9,000?
12,980 pieces of paper that she has filled out and is counting, her next one is approximately 3 was that having copies of important records stored on one of these little flash drives, and a lot of her online purchases, she made a folder on her computer saying purchases, was instrumental in allowing her to cope with the volume of paper while she was out of her home. They're finally back in, but the paperwork continues. So it's important to have copies of birth certificates, marriage certificates, insurance documents, licenses, and anything, and scan them and put them on here. Take a picture of them, load them onto your phone, but just a place where they are and they could be accessed easier. So batteries, of course, they always say you have plenty of batteries. I don't know about you, but batteries today don't seem to last as long. Shelf life, well, they say they expire 2 years after mine lasted a year. would say when you go in, right before you hear a storm, you go into a store and you notice that there's no D batteries, no C batteries. My recommendation is look for flashlights that take AA batteries. They actually were all what I had. Anybody who saw me walking around town, I wore a small little flashlight around my head. It was hands-free. I could see in the dark. I could walk my dogs, and I could navigate my house a lot easier. They were very helpful, but we were very fortunate that we were able to get batteries because we took AA's and had solar powered ones. A lot of the damage from a hurricane is going to come from the storm surge, the rushing water. Rushing water, just so you know, the average paper currency is 6.14 inches. It only takes 6 inches of water, just for a pictorial reference, to knock you off your feet. That's it, not a lot. It'll take 12 inches to move a small car. So for a pictorial reference, let's see. Co-Star Hillside West is about 12 inches. 2 feet will move your SUV. So that's where a lot of the deaths occur because the storm surge combined with the high tide is what does a lot of the damage and the flooding plus wind. So it's a good idea if you have to evacuate to have all this information and enough food for your family, especially water, to last you several days. The other thing is if you have pets, usually you'll have to put them in a carrier. And what we have here is a small folder that lists their vaccinations. And my particular pet has a medical condition, so her food goes into a bag. You take it to the carrier, and one has her picture, her license, her baby's and her medication, and it goes here. This is in case I have to be separated from my pet, and she has to go into a shelter away from me. You have to understand is that a lot of people that will come and help you are volunteers, and it's very important that they do have their own families, and that we should do everything to make their job helping us easier. So that's why it's also very important to have your own kit, know your evacuation routes, make a family communication plan. If you're separated, where will you meet up? Some families get matching shirts. Some buy disposable bracelets and write important information on it in case they are separated. So it's very important. And to drive home the final statistics, is 52% of Americans do not have copies of crucial or personal documents, which is what I was just talking about. 20% get their information online. 44% of Americans do not have first aid kits. So it's a really good idea to take pictures of your medication. I know I just went through this situation. I grabbed the Ziploc, threw it out, said, here, hold this. Well, it was left in the house. Thankfully, on my phone, I had taken pictures of somebody else's medication, and I was able to tell them what they were taking. I was also able to take notes about everything, take pictures of all the monitors, so by the time they were moved, I could just go, here it is. So the more information that you have, and the more stuff you have to make it a little easier would be better. So just want to say that now's the time to go home, take a video camera, walk around in each room of your home, and find if you have receipts for those items. Could you replace them? Because when you're hauling your grandmother's china cabinet out to the driveway, you really have no way to place a value on that. And it's very important. We were relatively unscathed here in Spring Lake Heights compared to many surrounding communities. But that doesn't mean a tornado couldn't blow through here tomorrow, as they can be part of some hurricane storms, and it might be a different situation. So I encourage everybody to be ready. Thank you.
Rita, just one thing. A friend of mine who lives in a flood zone and was affected by Hurricane Irene and Sandy, but not badly enough that they really had extensive damage. But one of the things that they did after Hurricane Irene is they got one of those igloo ice containers that is on wheels, has a handle. They put all their documents, even on a year-round basis. They have like little safe deposit boxes, small little boxes. They put them in this ice container that's probably about a couple of feet high and maybe 3 feet long, knowing full well that if they're told to evacuate, they know right where that is, they grab it and they go.
That's exactly right.
The idea of putting it in this ice container, or picnic container, whatever you want to call it, is because it's protected. The water's not going to get in there, basically. If you're in a big hurry pulling it behind you and you're in a storm or whatever the case might be. But I just wanted to offer that to you as a suggestion that she told me about.
I think that's a great, yes, knowing where your important documents are and having copies of them, that's actually a great suggestion. We have a Pelican box, and I'm sure you know what they are. They are waterproof, they'll float in fresh water, but not so well in salt water, but they're like fresh proof, and they're used a lot of times for medical equipment, sensitive cameras, and they are pretty much waterproof. But the cost of them is prohibitive. The very basic small one that has wheels probably starts at about $169 plus $40 shipping anymore. So it's an expensive case, but I do think that's great, because this way they can put some of their food and water in it.
Oh, yeah.
When they empty everything out, they know where it is. Good tip, thank you.
Great. There's also, post-Sandy, one of the things that I found that I actually find myself using all the time now when I'm out with the kids fishing or I'm on the beach. You can buy very inexpensive solar chargers that have little USB plugs on the side for your cell phones. Very useful to have with you, especially in an event like Sandy where without power for an extended period of time, it works great for charging devices to have available. Most of the cell phone networks, a lot of emergency services are becoming dependent on them as a means of communications, and a lot of the systems are built to survive very horrific events. And Verizon, throughout Sandy, the cell phone service worked. As long as your cell phone was charged, you had a means to communicate. So for many of the residents, especially the younger generation that don't have hardwired phones in the house, and you're dependent on that cell phone, just remember when you lose power for a while, you could be in a lot of trouble. So having that charger is important.
You're right, the highest age group of cell phones is 18 to 29, and most of them do not have any other means of accessing the internet but the phone.
And one more point on that, we were talking about water and you had hit on it with the tornado. Preparedness starts now before hurricanes come, and just like we're doing with the property over in Allaire Road Park, look around your property. If you have trees that are dying, if you have limbs that are looking old, that are decaying, get them down before the wind takes them down, before they fall into your house in the middle of a hurricane, or fall onto your car, or fall on somebody in your lawn. Be prepared by looking at your house. If you see loose siding, if you see things that will become an issue, please address it before the storm comes through.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any scheduled public hearings this evening, so we'll move on to the public comment portion of our meeting, and this is strictly on agenda items only what's on the agenda this evening. Does anybody have anything they'd like to comment on? Okay, can I have a motion and a second, please, to close that portion of the meeting?
I'll make the second.
All right, we have a discussion item tonight.
You actually have to vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Jimmy, but
That's okay. Mr.
do that roll
Campion?
call.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker?
Yes.
We're closed.
We have a discussion item tonight, and Jay Delaney is going to present that, and this is on the CDBG.
Yes, as mentioned at a previous meeting, we recently were notified from the Monmouth County Planning Office that administers the Community Development Block Grant Program, commonly referred to as CDBG, that last year's application was approved for funding as a result of the county receiving additional funds. And our notification was that we have been awarded a $156,000 grant for the planned improvements and renovations of the community center on Ocean Road. Distributed with the agenda is the purple sheet, which includes all of the paperwork that we now have to go through as part of the award process. Specifically, there is the grant agreement as well as a number of certifications that are required because there are federal funds involved. The purpose of tonight's presentation and distributed to the council this evening is a short pack or a thin package that includes selected materials from the application that was approved. Specifically, the front page is the current existing community center. The second page has the rear section where most of the planned renovations will take place. The third page is a site plan that highlights the rear area where the proposed one-story addition. And then the fourth page is the a floor plan of that addition. And essentially, you can see that if you refer to the second photograph at the rear, the little L addition on the rear is being proposed for removal, and a new addition that runs the entire width of the property is being proposed. The final item, or I should say the next final item, is a schematic, an elevation drawing of what that revised rear would look like. And then the final page is the estimate of cost. This estimate was prepared as part of last year's budget grant application and totaled $350,000. I will note that one of the items included is an emergency generator that is not being funded as part of this project in the amount of $75,000. Subsequent to this, we've identified an alternative plan, and so that $75,000 would not be needed, reducing our expected cost of renovations to be $275,000.
What is the alternate plan?
The alternate plan is to put in a smaller scale generator. This $75,000 was for a rather large.
We are still going forward with a natural
We're
gas
still
generator.
going, right, it is a natural gas generator, but it would not be a standalone system similar to what we have here that operates this building. In further reviewing it, first of all, we had submitted for grant funding under a different program for that generator. That has not been, we've not been successful in obtaining that. So we are looking at an alternative that will probably reduce this cost of the generator to $15,000 to $20,000.
Still consistent with our discussions over the last months. Okay.
In any event, our revised budget is approximately $300,000. $156,000 is now available from the CDBG program. So there is a balance there that we would need to fund locally to move ahead with this project. And one of the areas that we have identified as potential funding is the utilization of Open Space Recreation Trust Fund to provide the additional funding for this plan improvement. Currently, we have approximately $200,000 in undesignated open space fund. As you're aware, we recently, within the last 8 months, have entered into an agreement with the Board of Education to provide reimbursement funding for field improvements that are underway at the field here at the school. So just to provide some background, there's currently a 1 cent tax for dedicated tax that is collected each year from all properties in the town that is dedicated for open space recreation, historic preservation purposes. And each year that generates approximately $115,000 on an annual basis. $50,000 of that funding is reserved for debt service to pay down the remaining debt on the property acquisition on the Lair Road Park that was done some 6-7 years ago. And we are now in the 5th year of that program providing the down payment. So
Is that the Fletcher property?
that is the Fletcher.
And how many years left do we have to pay that off?
It's a total of 10. So with this year's budget, we'll be halfway there in paying down that $400,000 cost.
Which I've always ever heard that referred to as an open space fund. How does that apply to this?
It's technically, the full title is Open Space Recreation, Farmland Preservation, and Historic Preservation. It is commonly referred to as open space, and that is primarily what it's been used for here in this community for the acquisition of the Fletcher property. We've also utilized those funds to provide a matching portion of the grant from the county open space and recreation fund for improvements that are just about completed at Alair Road Park and Ocean Road Park.
So this is a legitimate use of that fund?
It is a legitimate use of the funds. On the basis that the community center is a recreation facility. It is not a passive recreation, but it is a recreation facility. It would be vetted through the Community Development Block Grant Program to make certain, but that is certainly my recommendation as the availability of funds.
So there's a check that would tell us if this isn't okay?
That's
Right, the state would verify.
Very good.
Where we are tonight is that as part of the package that was distributed, you would note that there is a acceptance form that is due to the county by the end of this month. We will then follow that up at our next meeting with the formal authorizations to enter into the grant agreement as well as the various certifications that have been distributed as part of the package tonight. The alternatives in terms of sources of funding, this could be a capital improvement funding through our regular budget process. It is also
In this budget?
not in this year's budget.
Right, cut that.
Alternatively, it is also a capital improvement that is eligible for bonded indebtedness, whether we would actually pay in the short term or long term would be another item. But those are really the only available options for the funding of the borough's share of these planned improvements.
Well, we had touched on last meeting bonded money that hasn't been spent yet. Did we quantify that to a dollar amount?
I believe the last meeting, Mr. Barrett indicated that for a budget hearing, he would have that information.
Okay,
He
so
said
we'll
he
have
would-
that for the next meeting. Very good. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else?
If there is no objection, we will be providing the acceptance agreement or the acceptance form to the county CDBG program. And in our next meeting, we'll be listing on the agenda the formal agreement, authorizing the agreement as well as the various certifications that are required.
What's the time frame on this?
Well, part of this is that because this is last year's funding, typically under this program, we would have been notified last September, October that the funding is available. This is considered fiscal year 2015 funding from the county. We anticipate that this work would be ready to go next year. One of the interim steps you would see is that we will be soliciting proposals from professionals and terms of architectural to provide us with the actual construction plans, the bid specifications. Our expectation is that once we receive authorization from the county, that would come later this year, more than likely near the end of the summer. And we would go out to bid in the winter months and plan for construction into 2016. Part of the logistics, and we haven't really finalized the scenario for this yet, is that this will require shutting down the community center for some period of time. I've had some discussions with our recreation director in terms of how we can maintain our senior fitness activities utilizing alternative locations, but there will be a period of time when the community center will be shut down. We'll have a better idea of what that time frame would be once we engage the architect, we finalize the construction plans, and have a better idea of what the actual schedule might look like. But we anticipate 4 to 5 months of construction at this stage. That's a very preliminary estimate.
So, and after we accept it, your next meeting is when we'll be voting on the funding source?
The funding source as well as authorizing the grant agreement with the county.
Okay.
So you would like us to confirm a positive on this tonight, so you can...
Well, again, this is sort of a very preliminary indication to the county that we are interested. I don't know that there's any formal vote needed on that. The formal vote will come with the approval of the contract at our next meeting.
Okay, good.
He has the authority as administrator to execute this anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay, now we come to the mayor and council reports. Mr. Campion, do you have anything?
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Tinkin?
None at this time.
Mr. O'Brien?
Not this time, no.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes, I would like to remind the residents they should be checking the borough sanitation recycling calendar before placing stuff out in the street for pickup. By not following the calendar, that stuff, that material lays out in the street for the month or for 2 weeks for the pickup. We can't keep the streets clean if you don't follow the cycle. So I urge you to follow the cycle on the sanitation calendar.
That's it? The only thing I have from the police department is, it is the summer months, and things get a little crazy with different things that go on, and we have hesitation from many of our residents in town that they do not want to call and report things. And it's very difficult after the fact to come to me or come to the chief or go to one of our officers and say, oh, last week such and such happened, but I didn't want to call. You must call the police department and report whatever is going on at the time that it is going on. Otherwise, it becomes mute because we can't do anything about it. The guys don't have any proof that something happened. It's difficult to find things out. And it's very important that we report these things in a timely fashion. So I just ask that now that summer is here and everything increases on a regular basis, we have more traffic on Highway 71, we have more people in town. Some people come for a week, some people come for a month. We definitely do need to be very diligent. And the other thing I want to mention is for a while now, we haven't had a sign out in front of our building. We used to have a sign by the driveway that showed that the police department was in the back of the building, and we had a sign out in the front that indicated that this was the Borough Hall. As I understand it from Mr. Schuler and from Mr. Delaney, that these are being worked on. Also, you told me earlier tonight that the sidewalk is going to be...
Yeah, we have to redo the sidewalk and some of the landscaping out there, and the signs will be put in at that time.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do we have a time frame on that?
Well, the first stage was to finish the driveway. That was completed last week.
Right.
So our expectation is that by the end of June, we should have all that work done and the sign installed.
And will the signs, both signs, for the police and for the Borough Hall, will they in some way be illuminated either
Yes.
with spotlights or?
The plan is to provide them with solar lighting,
Okay, good. Okay. And that's all.
exterior lighting.
Okay, and that's what I have to report on. Reports, notices, and correspondence. We had a letter from Groundwater Environmental Services dated May the 12th, 2015 regarding Route 71 and Warren Avenue. A letter from Monmouth County Board of Chosen Freeholders authorizing charitable events on County Road for Independent Fire Company Number 1. Notice dated May the 12th, 2015 of the Board of Adjustment hearing for property at 917 Lake Avenue, and a letter dated May the 11th, 2015 from Mr. Louis Labasco, the engineer for the Board of Adjustment, approving an application complete for hearing on property known as 917 Lake Avenue. Did everybody read all that correspondence, and does anybody have any questions?
I do. I don't know if you would be the best one to answer this, Jay. I imagine Joe is, and since he's not here. This investigation from GES is obviously related to the filling station on the highway, and it seems they're doing some kind of groundwater sample or study. Do you know anything about what they're doing with
You know,
this?
I don't, What little I know was based on just the letter from them.
They're asking about our 25-year plan for groundwater use, and I know that we have wells and we draw from groundwater, and so do surrounding towns. I'm just curious how that plays into any testing they would do for contamination or something.
Yeah, I would hesitate to comment on that without
Very good.
discussing with Mr. Mayor.
Okay. No ordinances to introduce. Now we come to resolutions. And the first resolution that we have is Resolution R 2015-94, 95, approving of social affairs special permit for Ocean Housing Alliance Incorporated. Do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll motion it.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Janine?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have Resolution R 2015-96, authorizing the borough to participate and the mayor and clerk to execute the intra-county mutual aid and assistance agreements. Do we have a motion
I'll make the motion.
and a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Janine?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2015-97, approving payment of claims on the May 22nd, 2015 bill list. A motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker? Motion passes.
Now we come to the other public comment portion of the meeting, where you can speak on any item, and I open that up to the residents who are here. If anyone has anything to make a comment about, come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
How you doing? Steve Timmerman, 1221 Norman Terrace. Just wanted to say good evening, council. I just wanted to find out as far as the status of the parking situation based off of last meeting on Norman Terrace. I know we had some discussion. I want to find out as far
Our
as...
borough engineer got married and he was going away for 2 weeks, so I believe we'll see him at the next meeting. I don't know if Joe, I know he was working on something and then that
That's
came
right.
up.
Okay.
So I think for the next meeting we'll have something better. I apologize.
Okay.
That was the timing.
That's right. No, I understand that Joe got married. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
I'll make that motion.
Close the comment.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Most of what happened today, other stuff that happened up in the